Well, Tamra Judge is reacting to her on the spectrum diagnosis. She issued a statement. She's responded to the Daily Mail. And we also have a few other housewives that are joining the chat. We have Vicki Gunvalson, Gretchen Rossi, and Jacqueline Laurita that are reacting. We have an update on Tommy Manzo, who has just been sentenced to prison. Lots to get into today. Joe Kim Booster's also talking about Shannon Bedore again. So get ready for it.
You're listening to No Filter with Zach Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in.
What's going on, guys? Happy what's today? Wednesday? Happy Wednesday. What's up? The gym is like my therapy. So I have been going extra hard lately. We had our 1 mile benchmark, ran my 1 mile in 5 minutes and 15 seconds, which is like, oof, was the top of the class. I think the second person that came in right after me came in at 5:26. So yeah, I felt pretty good. 5:15. I was like, okay, let's get it. Let's get it. So, therapy, that's my therapy. And they're not gonna misdiagnose me with anything. And if they do, I'm certainly not gonna come on my podcast and say, hey, in the gym today, my coach diagnosed me with something, and I just wanted to share with everyone that I think I'm on it. So there's been a lot of reactions in the past, 24 hours. Since yesterday's podcast episode, I saw Tamra Judge issued a statement. She gave an exclusive to People Magazine. I did a video on Instagram that got picked up in the Daily Mail. Tamra also responded to that. So yeah, it's certainly been a lot. Did not expect this week to unfold the way that it has, but I have a lot to say, as some of the housewives who have now come out and talked about their reaction to Tamra Judge and her autism diagnosis. Well, here's the other thing. So people are getting very nitpicky right now about autism and an autism diagnosis and whether or not Tamra actually says that she has autism, or people are saying, oh, Tamra's just, she's on the spectrum, and on the spectrum doesn't necessarily mean autism. Well, I just want to enlighten everybody that the spectrum is called the autism spectrum. And so what that means is that the spectrum is an evaluation of how severe your autism presents. So that's kind of what I want to say about people that are like, she said she was on the spectrum versus has autism. And I'm like, well, what other spectrum was she talking about? The sexuality spectrum? She was trying to determine how straight or how gay she is? Like, what? She's trying to identify with being two-spirit? Like, I'm confused as to what spectrum people thought that she was on. So let's clarify that. The spectrum that she was obviously referring to was on the autism spectrum. And her statement, she's since come out. I have talked to her. I also want to make it clear, I'm not in the camp of people that's like, we should cancel her, she should be fired, Bravo should take action against her. I disagree with all of that. I don't think we should cancel her. I don't think she should be fired. I don't think that I agree with Anaconda. It's unfair for people to call her an alcoholic and a narcissist. I agree. I say this as an educated person, also a mama of a son with autism. Yes, I agree with you, Anaconda. I'm with you, and I'm on that same page with you. I don't think that we should cancel her. I don't think that we should fire her. I don't think that we should be labeling her anything else. Okay, I want to make that very, very clear. However, no, I don't think she should be paused either. However, I do think that there is some level of accountability, number one. And number two, I do think that this could be a teaching, learning lesson for all of us, right? I think that there is a level of education. Like when people jump in on this fight and they want to, go anti-Tamara with it, you also have to understand that if you're going to represent and try to speak out for the people that have autism, then you need to also respect that many of us, the families and the people that, live with this every day, um, a lot of us, I think, are showing a lot more empathy than people would expect. So yeah, let's read her statement and then we'll get into the rest of it. Because I have a lot of thoughts about it. I wasn't entirely thrilled about her statement. We'll get into some of the reactions from people. We'll get into the press because the press has had a lot to say. Okay, so she posted on Instagram. I started therapy because this year has been really hard on me. I started feeling really insecure. I was having intrusive thoughts and I didn't want to leave my house unless I had to. I even considered just being admitted into a mental health facility. In my conversations with my therapist, who I've known for years, we talked a lot. We talked a lot over the course of 2 hours, and she told me many things about me, like how I process information, my sensory issues, my social anxiety, my aversion to eye contact with new people, my not wanting to be out of my routine, etc. Were all signs of being on the spectrum. Now, on the spectrum is such a broad term, I don't really understand it fully, and my therapist told me more evaluation was needed. But when I sat down at the mic to record my podcast 15 minutes later and my head was spinning from what she had said, I had no time to process things or even talk to my family. I just went back to work. I was so emotional. I just blurted it out. First of all, it's dangerous to just blurt out that you have a diagnosis of something that you don't formally have. Autism is not like people who claim to be an empath or people who are, a Sagittarius, where you go online and there's a checklist and you're like, oh my God, I hit all of the marks on this checklist and this is how I feel. Like, OMG, right? Like when people go on WebMD and they diagnose themselves with something, that's not how a diagnosis works. And it's very dangerous to go on the internet and claim that you have something that you don't actually have a formal diagnosis of, right? She did tear up. She said, I found out I am on the spectrum. Like, she really made a declaration about this diagnosis that she had received. It's not a Cosmo quiz, it's not a BuzzFeed quiz. Like, this is something that people deal with on a daily basis, even at the most high functioning level. Here's the other thing, and this is where we have to hold certain therapists accountable too. First of all, a therapist can't diagnose you with autism. Like, it's an actual medical diagnosis, and there are, ways to be clinically and formally diagnosed with something like autism or diagnosed on the spectrum, which does mean that you have autism. Okay. So when it comes to sensory issues, because she talks about, how I process information, my sensory issues, my social anxiety, my aversion to eye contact with new people, my not wanting to be out of my routine, all things I can identify with, all things I think many of I have social anxiety. I've talked about that. I have sensory issues. I was trying to explain this. I kind of touched on it on the pop report of like, there's me going to the beach. Like, let's say you wear jeans to the beach and you happen to put your feet in the water and then your jeans get wet. That's a really uncomfortable feeling to wear denim and to have it get wet. But there's a difference between a discomfort and a true sensory issue. My brother could not get his clothes wet, or else he would have a full on tantrum that would go on and on. It wasn't something that was just uncomfortable for him. It was something that the physical touch was so, the sensation of that was so heightened, right? When she says that I have sensory issues and I'm sensitive to light, it's like, yes, but you're also capable of sitting for hours on end under bright lights and film a confessional for the Real Housewives, right? You're able to go to BravoCon and be in a loud room with multiple people. That's very different than someone with autism that even has high functioning autism, right? Or what was once considered the Asperger's, which is the high functioning end of autism, or high functioning end of the spectrum. Even those cases, environments like that can be very challenging. They have to wear headphones because the processing of the noise is too much for them. It's overwhelming for them. you know um how we process information, we all process information differently. Aversion to eye contact with new people, that can come with just, listen, I have aversion to eye contact with new people, because guess what, like sometimes, listen, I did this when I would tour and I would do live shows. Like sometimes you do feel, or like when I went to BravoCon, like sometimes you, and even somebody like me, right, where I feel like I'm often considered a more polarizing, contrarian, controversial podcaster, whatever, however people want to label me. I'm often like, oh my God, I'm walking into this room where people are going to like me or people not going to like me. Like, you know, it's very different. So I don't often like to make eye contact. I often keep to myself. I think people can sometimes read me as cold if they meet me for the first time, right? That doesn't mean just because I have traits that are similar to this checklist doesn't mean that I have autism, and it doesn't mean that I'm on the spectrum. It means that there are certain traits and quirks and qualms that I may identify with, but they're not to the severity that someone on the spectrum actually has, which is why it requires a formal diagnosis. It requires a clinical evaluation, right? That's why it's so important to make sure that we're mindful about these things. Um, so she is correct. On the spectrum is a broad term, and it's become a lot more broad in recent years, which is something people need to acknowledge as well. I understand that autism presents differently in men versus women, in boys versus girls. There's a huge difference. What if you were anti-Tamra prior? I wasn't anti-Tamra prior, though. I've been very clear that I've liked Tamra. I appreciate what she brings to the show. When I've met her in person, I've had great times with Tamra. Can a therapist even diagnose? No, a therapist cannot diagnose Brittany. That's the thing. And so the people that are defending her being on the spectrum, I'm like, you guys have to be careful because she's not officially been diagnosed on the spectrum. So it's dangerous to go off of that assumption. Again, it's like when people say, oh my God, I went online and I read this checklist and I'm an empath and I take on people's emotions and I take on people's feelings. Sure, I'm not debunking whether or not it's real to be an empath. I'm just saying it's very different. Somebody that self-identifies as an empath, it's very different, especially when people are now starting to self-diagnose themselves with autism. Big difference. See, Eva in the live chat says, I'm a therapist. We cannot diagnose autism. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying there have been so many therapists and teachers and occupational therapists and ABA therapists and parents and moms, especially, and siblings. And so many of you guys have come forth and commented and DM'd me. And I appreciate all of it. I really do. And I'm so glad that we're on the same page with this, So she continues by saying, afterwards, my instinct was to have it removed, the podcast, or to have her statements removed. But I'm used to being so open with everything in my life. I thought against it. Now I wish I had. I just want to take people through the journey with me as I've always done. But I realize now I spoke too soon publicly, and that processing with this is such an onslaught of negative comments has been horrible. You have to understand why people are reacting this way, my love. Like, this is one thing that, like, when you get a reaction from people, yes, some of them are going to be the crazy extremists, but also at the same time, you have to understand that there is a big portion of the community that is reacting this way because what you're claiming is insulting to something that they deal with every day. And so there does need to be that level of awareness, and there does need to be that level of accountability. And with that can come grace, right? If you know me, you know I don't like to look weak or play the victim. I also hate labels just as much as I hate excuses, but I'm working on myself, not a TV show, to be a better person for me and the people around me. This isn't some storyline, it's my real life. I have past trauma that is deep and painful. This is something I've suppressed for 15 years, but I'm finally able to get the help that I need, and I'm proud of myself for that. I'm proud of her too. I want to say that. I'm proud of herself, proud of her for getting help. Um, Listen, trauma and having to deal with past trauma is a lot. I don't want to negate that. But past trauma and being on the spectrum are two very different things. They can, overlap in certain areas, but they're still very different things, right? And they need to be addressed very differently. I have deep empathy for the trauma that she claims she's faced. She says she's oppressed it for 15 years. So that comes with a lot of unpacking and a lot of work that she will have to do to process that. And I have nothing but respect for her taking the help that she needs to address her mental health. However, we can acknowledge that it's good for her to, prioritize her mental health, but also at the same time, know it's dangerous for her to claim that she has a diagnosis of something she does not have. She concludes by saying, as much as I appreciate the amazing people who reached out, I think it's best to move forward more privately until I get into a better mental space. My mental health is just not strong enough where I can be judged and hated on right now. Yes, I'm admitting that I'm weak, and I'm okay with that right now. My issue, the statement's not terrible. I think she adds a lot of context that, explains things a lot more. However, um, context is helpful, but accountability is what I think she needed to take more of. Say, hey, I spoke too soon. I'm still learning. I apologize if I offended anybody. I apologize if, I insulted a community of people that are more vulnerable. I did not mean to hijack that diagnosis without knowing more about it. I'm going to learn more about it. I'm going to take care of myself and I'm prioritize my mental health. But I do apologize to anyone that may have been offended by this. Or I do apologize for anyone that feels like I tried to jump in on something that I know I didn't, because I talked with her privately and she told me I would never put myself in the same category as your brother. And I appreciated that. But I wish she would have said that publicly, you know? I wish she would have acknowledged that and addressed that. So that's where it's hard because I do like her on a personal level. I do understand the value that she brings to the Real Housewives of Orange County as the villain. But I'm disappointed in this response and I'm disappointed in um, especially how this is being covered. Okay, so let's get into the People magazine. So not only did she issue that statement, but she also gave it to People magazine as an exclusive. And so we have Vanessa Atine and Dave Quinn. I don't know Vanessa, but Dave Quinn obviously gets a lot of Housewives exclusives. He wrote the book. What was it? Not All Diamonds and Rose. I purchased the book, covered it in book club, promoted it heavily, invited Dave Quinn on this podcast when the book had come out. Have had a lot of respect for Dave Quinn, but I don't have a lot of respect for the story that he ran yesterday. And the headline reads, Tamra Judge claps back at critics after being told she's on the spectrum. This isn't some storyline. Exclusive. Quote, I'm finally getting the help I need, and I'm proud of myself for that, the reality star tells People. So a couple of things here. One, we're enabling her ability to claim that she has a diagnosis of something that she does not have, which again is dangerous and offensive. And two, the fact that people like myself are being referred to as critics that Tamra Judge is clapping back at. Is also insulting. Like, we're not critics. We're not slamming. Like, the number of parents and siblings and people with autism and therapists and teachers and doctors that I've seen speak out about this, they're not critics. This is their daily reality that you're fucking with the stupid cheap ass headline like that Tamra Judge has to clap back at them. Um, I'm not about cancel culture. I'm not about outrage culture. But I was heavily offended by this because I'm like, I'm not just some critic that Tamra Judge is gonna snap and have a clap back on. And for somebody like Dave Quinn, who I used to have a lot of respect for, to run a story like this and to lead it with like, oh, but she's getting the help that she needs. She's getting the help that she needs for the emotional processing that she's dealing with, right? And the trauma that she's dealing with. And that's important. And her mental health should absolutely be a priority. But there is a difference between addressing your mental health and also hijacking a diagnosis that you do not have. So enabling that and also letting the headline be, she was told that she's on the spectrum. Yes, but she was told that she's on the spectrum by someone that doesn't have the qualifications to diagnose her as someone that is on the spectrum. So, yeah, I know it's only People magazine, but there is a level of journalistic integrity that I would expect someone like Dave Quinn to have in a situation like this. Um, it's just annoying, and insulting, like I said. And then the Daily Mail went on. They did a story that had me in it. They referred to me as an influencer, which I didn't. I didn't love being reduced to just an influencer, but whatever. And the headline ran, Real Houses of Orange County star Tamra Judge responds after influencer ridicules her on the spectrum diagnosis. I don't feel like I ridiculed her. I reached out to her personally. I also reached out to Teddy personally. I've talked to a number of different housewives behind the scenes about this as well. Some of them that have spoken up publicly, others that have chosen to remain quiet, which is totally fine. I don't feel like I ridiculed her. I feel like I defended people like my brother, while also trying to help her understand why what she said is being received the way that it has, and also hoping that there can be a level of accountability. which again, unfortunately, I have not seen, which is disheartening. Well, headlines are clickbait. Yeah, and that's why I understand. And listen, my manager called me and he's like, "Do you have an issue with this? Do you want them to correct anything?" And I was like, "Listen, it is what it is. I'm not bothered by that." I mean, listen, they're talking about me. It's promotion for the podcast. And at least people will hopefully go and listen to the podcast and hear the full context of what I had to say about all of this. Not thrilled by that coverage, though. And then we had certain housewives speak out. Starting with, so I think the first person to speak out was Gretchen Rossi. And so Gretchen Rossi commented on my video, and Gretchen Rossi said, "It's a major insult, 100%. It's a major insult. And you and I both know that it's her way of trying to gain sympathy from the audience that hates her right now. She's setting up her next year storyline with this BS. She's using this as an excuse for all her horrible behavior over the years, which includes naked, wasted, and does this while crying crocodile tears. So let's get this straight. She has no empathy for others, but all of a sudden can have empathy for herself in that moment. What a gross and failed attempt to try and excuse her behavior to try and get the audience to feel sorry for her. She makes my stomach turn. #clown." I feel like Gretchen came very hard. I know a lot of people are clapping for Gretchen. I think Gretchen came a little hard. I know Gretchen has a history with Tamra. I know Gretchen has experience with Tamra. I never really watched Tamra on television prior to Ultimate Girls Trip at Dorinda's Manor, at Bluestone Manor. So I wasn't too familiar with Tamra prior. And then I started watching OC and started watching her on other shows like The Traitors. And so I get where Gretchen's coming from. I feel like it is a harder approach. It's a little harsher than my approach is, clearly. But yeah. But then Vicki Gunvalson jumped in and she came in hot. So she says, "This is disgusting and shame on her. She's looking for attention and sympathy. It's no different than Brooks saying he had cancer for sympathy and lying to me. She needs psychological help and needs to stop making a mockery of being on the spectrum or having autism. #fake tears, #get help, Real Houses of Orange County, #Bravo TV." I don't know if I think it's at the same level of Brooks claiming he has cancer, because Brooks like doubled down on that story, and Brooks fabricated medical documents. Like, Brooks went all in. Brooks went so hard about this. I think this is a little more similar to like Real Houses of Atlanta, when Kim Zolciak at the reunion alluded to, remember they were talking about her wearing wigs and she like started like choking up and she's like, "Oh my God, well, the reason I wear wigs is because," she kind of like alluded to the fact that she may have had cancer. And then Andy's like, "So you did have cancer?" And Nini's like, "I didn't know she had cancer." And then she's like, "No, we thought it was cancer, but luckily we found out that it was something else and it wasn't cancer." But it's like, but she did this whole song and dance and talked about the reason she was wearing wigs was because she alluded it to being that she has cancer or had cancer. And then she's like, "No, I don't have cancer." That's what I think is more of a similar situation, where you just kind of vaguely dance on the line of something that you don't really have, but you kind of lead people to believe that you do. But she didn't fabricate medical documents. She didn't go all in. Like Brooks is, I think, a more severe case. I wouldn't put Tamra in that same boat. Brandi Glanville, it looks like this was a paid, a sponsored response that she posted on Instagram stories and on Twitter, or X. She said, "Tamra's in my thoughts and prayers. She is brave for sharing her truth." She is brave. I respect what she's going through and have empathy for what she's going through, but you also have to be careful with the whole my truth argument, because my truth doesn't always mean the objective truth. My truth could be that I have cancer. My truth could be that I think the sky is green. My truth can be that somebody tweeted that their truth is that they're a millionaire and they're going to self-diagnose themselves as a millionaire. And I'm like, yeah, that's the thing, is it's like, I can't just, I'm just going to walk around and be like, "Yeah, today I'm a billionaire and I want everybody to respect my status as a billionaire." It's like, it's not based in reality. So yeah, it's just. But then Jacqueline Laurita, who obviously has a son with autism, we watched her journey on the Real Houses of Orange County. She's a good friend of mine. I was talking to her a lot about this yesterday. We kind of see eye to eye for the most part. She does have a much softer approach than I do. But so she weighed in and she commented on my post and she said, I think Tamra was still processing everything that was coming up during her recent therapy visit when she emotionally and impulsively decided to openly speak out about being on the spectrum without fully understanding the impact of what she was saying. I think after being told by her therapist that she meets some of the criteria of someone on the spectrum and recognizing some of the signs and symptoms in herself, she labeled herself too hastily without having a formal diagnosis. I think she has a lot of suppressed trauma to unpack and is still trying to work through it and understand why she is the way that she is and feels the way that she does. I see someone struggling to carry her own bucket that's too full, that it spills over onto others in the form of releasing her own burdens at times. Hurt people, hurt people. I'm happy she's taking positive steps to feel better and do better. I think Jacqueline addressed this perfectly. I think she said everything I feel. She said it very elegantly. She's also giving Tamra a lot of grace in all of this. Um, I agree. I think after a therapist, like, her therapist said that she meets some of the criteria and, she too hastily labeled herself and, she doesn't have a formal diagnosis. I get it. It was an emotional move. It was an impulsive move. She still processed everything. I agree. I don't have anything to disagree with what Jacqueline said. I completely agree with her. I stand by Jacqueline's statement. I just wish Tamara would at least acknowledge that. I think that would put a lot of ease to this, is her just acknowledging, "Hey, this was a knee-jerk reaction, and I feel terribly." Um, Nicole. Wow, Nicole Keegan. Wow, with a $200 super chat. Wow, Nicole, thank you very much. That is very generous of you. Nicole says, I'm glad I was able to see this live because your podcast yesterday really hit home for me. I've been a third grade teacher for 12 years and I see children and family who truly struggle with autism. It's infuriating for an entitled housewife to put herself in the same category. I agree. I 1000% agree. I feel you. I'm with you. I see you. We're on the same page together. And it is hard because I don't think Tamara meant any harm by what she did. But I do think that unfortunately there was a reaction. And when there's a ripple effect and a reaction, I think you do need to acknowledge why there's a reaction and acknowledge the impact of your words. Pamela B also says, thank you, Zach, for being an advocate for ASD. Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me grace through all of this. I love and appreciate all of you guys. So yeah, I mean, I think that's all I have to say. I hope, I was talking to Tamara about possibly coming on No Filter originally after the reunion. And so I hope that she takes me up on that offer and that we can address this and let this be an empowering and enlightening conversation. Um, yeah. So Laura says, I don't think she meant harm. I think she wanted the attention and an excuse. Maybe. I don't know. Please don't, Zach. No, I think, listen, that conversation I think is going to be enlightening. And hopefully powerful, and hopefully people will learn, and hopefully other people will come to understand. It's just been so interesting seeing the people that are like defending her mental health. And I'm like, there's no questioning her mental health. Like, that should absolutely be a priority. That's absolutely something that we should be mindful of, right? But, again, it just, Anaconda says, I get it. I get if this was live when Tamara said this and she could not take her words back, but they recorded this and had time to take this out and it's actually unforgivable to me. Interesting. Um, I agree, but I also, like with Jacqueline, don't think she understood the weight of her words. And so that's where I have a little more grace. And yeah. Joe says more of the proverbial foot and mouth disease. Yeah, I agree. I said the same thing yesterday when people were asking me about it. I was like, it's foot and mouth disease. Um, it's something that I feel like maybe I have at times, right? And so Eva says, I think everyone needs a therapist society. People really need to be educated on the initials behind people's names and their competency. That too. I agree with you, Eva. On the same page with you. Anne Marie said she triggered so many people. I don't see a way back. I do. And I think part of the way back is to address it and acknowledge it in a way that shows that she truly understands it. And if I can be a bridge to help her see that other side, I'm happy to do that because I think it will, again, be a teachable moment for a lot of people. I have a platform. She has a platform. My invitation still stands. I don't know if she'll take me up on that offer after all. She seemed open to the idea, but we'll see. Again, I have grace that I give her, and I hope that we can all learn through it. So Diane says, I have a special needs child who where did the comment go? Oh, I have a special needs child who is not autistic. That was hard. I cannot imagine what the parents of autistic children go through. They get all of my love. Yes. Natalie says, this is a great educational opportunity with the disappointing way around it. Yeah. But Zach, it's not just this. She continually reaches new lows. Hopefully we can use this as a way to help her out of that, right? Like she's never received this level of backlash before. Laura says it probably only matters to her if Bravo cares because that's her employment. Billy says, do you think she will apologize? I don't think she will. I'm hoping she will. I'm hoping she will. Okay, let's get into the Manzo of it all. Tommy Manzo. Let's get into Katie Maloney. She's got a new boyfriend. So let's dive and Joe Kim Booster. Let's get into all of that. But before we do, obviously health has been a big topic this week. And if you want to take control of your health, then I recommend you check out Mochi. Mochi is a telehealth platform that connects patients seeking medication-based weight loss treatment that with board-certified doctors and dietitians to help determine the best treatment options to accomplish your weight loss goals. Their program is completely virtual, meaning you can access their services anywhere in the United States and will be meeting with their team online. You deserve doctors that listen, and they're dedicated to providing holistic, patient-centered care that prioritizes overall well-being with the goal of transforming how weight loss management is approached. So if you want to give them a try, Mochi Health takes a holistic approach to weight loss that includes visits with board-certified doctors, nutrition consultations, and medication delivered to your door. So no waiting rooms, no pharmacies. It gets delivered to your door and you consult with them from your own home. They have science-backed medications, including GLP-1s like Ozempic. Everybody's all big about the Ozempic craze. So if you're curious about Ozempic, this could be a great option for you. It's affordable and accessible regardless of insurance coverage. With Mochi, their dietitians work hand in hand with your medication to create personalized nutrition plans that fit your lifestyle. Reach your weight loss goals with science-backed, FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, support from real doctors, and guidance from registered dietitians. Help with making easy and sustainable changes to achieve your results can happen today. Get started at joinmochi.com. That's joinmochi. Mochi is spelled M-O-C-H-I. Joinmochi.com, and be sure to use code NOFILTER to receive $40 off. That's code NOFILTER to receive $40 off. So head on over to joinmochi.com. Also, while we're on the topic of autism, one of my favorite brands is a longtime supporter of the autism community. It's a brand that I've known for many, many years. I've used for over a decade. That's been part of my family for over a decade, and that is BioRay. And BioRay has a new line called Raised by BioRay. And this line is designed specifically for teens, especially those angsty teens. So if you're getting stuck in that back to school route right now, then I definitely recommend you give Raised by BioRay a try because it's for teens that want to feel good. I've been taking BioRay supplements for over a decade now. They're a science-backed staple in my family using expertly formulated Chinese herbal and adaptogenic tincture blends. So if your teen is on a sugar rampage and maybe stuck in cranky mode, then I highly suggest Life is Peachy. Their drops are great. They help with those sugar cravings, especially as we're getting into the holiday season. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, try the Dream Machine drops. Or if you need help keeping them focused throughout the day, definitely get some of the thinking cap drops. I personally like the thinking cap drops. I put them in my water in the morning, especially when I'm running in between tapings. But whatever you need, Raise by BioRay has you covered. And even better, they give you special savings when you use code ZACK, Z-A-C-K, at bioray.com. That's code ZACK, Z-A-C-K, at bioray.com. So head on over to BioRay, B-I-O-R-A-Y, bioray.com, and know that this is an autism-friendly brand. So they do support the community. They donate lots of money to help the community, and that's part of the reason that I love and adore them. So definitely go and give them a try today. Okay. Should we go into Joel Kim Booster? Should we? Well, let's talk about Katie Maloney really quickly because she's got a new boyfriend. She's got a new boyfriend. She's got a new boyfriend. So on her podcast, Disrespectfully, with her and Dana Cathan, she announced that she is seeing someone. She has a boyfriend. She says that she's in love. She didn't share too many details about this guy, but she says that he makes her feel really special and she's really, really happy. And so, yeah, she says he's the most wonderful person that she's ever met. So he's clearly not Tom Schwartz, but I mean, good for her. She's in a new relationship. She's happy. Yeah, great. Happy for her. I don't know. Katie News doesn't really thrill me, but if she's happy, I'm happy, right? What else? We have Dina Canton from Real Housewives of New Jersey. Dina, her ex-husband, Tommy Manzo. Remember, he was facing trial. Caroline Manzo and Dolores Catania, they both wrote letters in support of him. Oh, love this for her. He's allegedly part of the band, and it's Schwartz's birthday today. Happy birthday, Schwartz. Happy birthday, Tom. Oh, was it yesterday? Well, his birthday is yesterday, today, this week. Happy birthday, Schwartz. Happy birthday, Schwartzy. Schwartzy's mom has got it going on. Okay, but anyway, back to Dina and Tommy Manzo. So obviously, we know that Tommy Manzo was on trial for allegedly hiring a mobster to go and beat up Dina's new husband. I believe it was her then boyfriend or fiance when the incident occurred. But he was hired to go and beat him up. And in exchange for beating up Dina's new man, he was going to get a discount on, I believe it was a wedding that he was hosting at the Brownstone. And so Tommy was willing to give them this discount as long as he did him a favor. And the favor was to beat up Dina's new man. So, who's now her current husband. But this happened, I believe they were either newly engaged or just dating. But now, after it was a 2.5-week trial, verdict has been reached, and it's just been announced that Tommy Manzo has been sentenced to 7 years in prison. Dina was also home when this happened. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was after one of Teresa's daughters. She was having not a christening. Was it a communion? And it was after that ceremony and celebration that they came back, and the mobster was there. He beat up her current husband, and he also assaulted Dina as well. So, this goes to show that wedding venue prices are out of control when you're willing to perform a hit to get a discount. Well, it wasn't a full hit, right? A hit means like you've offed them, but you're, a little threat, a little, scare. Oof, right? Okay. So Tommy Manzo going to prison. Caroline Manzo defended him. Dolores Catania defended him. Oy, oy, oy. Oy, 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 oy. Rough. And then lastly, what else do we have? Oh, Joel Kim Booster. So Joel Kim Booster was on Justin Martindale's podcast and is talking about the Love Hotel Shannon Bedore drama. And he's basically saying that he apologized to Shannon. He obviously posted his public apology on Instagram, but he says he also emailed her directly apologizing to her. He said that there was an incident that he got really upset about. That's what prompted him to post the things that he posted. But he claims that these were hyperbolic posts, and he doesn't actually mean what he claims that he said. He claims that he shouldn't have defended John Jansen. He claims that he went a little too hard at Shannon. He took things a little too personally. The interesting part, too, is he also reveals that Bravo wasn't even that bothered by what he did. He says that Bravo said that the news cycle is so short that people will forget about it in 48 hours, which I just checked the clock. It's been more than 48 hours and we're still talking about it. But I mean, I don't know if he's just trying to defend his job, his, higher ability, but he made it seem like Bravo does not care about this at all. So that's the latest on Joel Kim Booster and Shannon Bedore. Kind of gave me the impression that he maybe have allegedly been imbibing on something, and maybe possibly my own speculation, my own conjecture that he may have been under the influence of something that motivated him to go a little extra hard and go on a little sassy rant. Yeah. Pamela says Justin Martindale has a podcast. I liked him until he backstabbed Heather McDonald. That's where he backstabbed her, was on his podcast. Literally, where he backstabbed her was he made all those comments about Heather on his podcast. So, ooh. But yeah, that's where it's at. Not having IG lives under the influence. I mean, listen, I feel like when I'm under the influence, it's usually just alcohol. I can't speak for other people, but sometimes people have manic fits of, you know, rage, lashing out. I don't know how you define that. Was not a good look. I'm surprised to hear him say that Bravo didn't care about it, but we'll see. We'll see when the show comes out. We'll see if there was any, Danny says, and the things that happen after rap parties on the crappy lake rap party stories. Oh, well, yeah. Well, Sonia Morgan. Kevin says, I guess you don't remember the history. Heather backstabbed him first by not supporting him when there were homophobic comments made to him on Heather McDonald's Facebook. She even ended up. I'm not going to get into the Heather McDonald stuff again. That's so last year. But yeah, Brittany says, is this just a plot because Bravo knew that they're losing audiences? Like, who's going to watch Love Hotel? Well, like I said, this whole debacle makes me want to watch Love Hotel even less. I was somewhat intrigued by it, but I don't know. Sydney says, yeah, and Justin jumped on that bandwagon with no hesitation. Yes, I agree. Love Hotel, more like Love Motel. Hotel, motel, no. Joe says, can you imagine if Zach goes on Instagram Live under the influence beyond alcohol? The number of trolls that would save that live would be fired. Yeah. I don't do anything else. I'm not I don't imbibe on other substances. I've never done pasta. Yeah. That just ain't me, yo. Stacy 513 says, Zach, you are my hero. You really stand up for your beliefs. Thank you for being you. Always, always, and forever. I'ma be me. I'ma do me. I don't care. How many F's do I give? 0, 0, none, not one. 0, 0, done. Anything else you guys wanted to just pin in that clip? Reality TV is a disease that's infested society. Oh, okay. Wow. That's a little, read that comment a little too quick. But yeah, I don't know. I appreciate you. I love you. You know, when it's members only this week, it'll probably be Thursday, like our regular or original schedule, the Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. All right. That's all I got for you today. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. sending you love. Be kind. Have a little compassion. Have a little grace for people. Stop beating up Tamra. I think at this point we've beat her to, we've beat her with enough sticks that she can ease and breathe and hopefully learn from all of this. Kim Richards conservatorship. Kim Richards, is she under conservatorship? I did not hear that. But if she is under conservatorship, I will look into that and maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. But I did not hear that Kim Richards was under a conservatorship. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Give me a follow at Just Plain Zack if you want to keep up with me. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack on Instagram, on all the things. I'm at No Filter with Zack on TikTok, on the Tickety Talk, all the things. We also have a new episode of the Pop Report that's out right now. So go and check out, subscribe, listen, leave a comment, leave a review, all the things for the Pop Report. Love ya. Appreciate you. Talk to you later. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow on Thursday. Okay. I feel like I need to take a nap and it's only 10 a.m. Sheesh. Have a good one, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye.